Alright, so here's what we're going to do. Today we're going to show you how to make a bastard sword, which is like the basic sword, but it's about 6 inches longer, so it should be out to here. And we'll do some interesting blade design differences so that it ends up being more like a heavier chopping weapon. But that's what we're aiming for. What you're going to need to start out is a hacksaw to cut the PVC with, and what you need is the 1/2 inch PVC, which is a solid white color, scissors, duct tape, some string for the handle. Today we're going to be using a black yarn. To go over the 1/2 inch PVC, we're using 3/4 inch pipe insulation. That's got about a 1/2 inch wall on it. It's gray and it slides over the end there. Plus we're going to need some scraps. Any old size will do, but this is just for doing things like hilts and handles and whatnot. So measure out to 42.5 or 42 inches and make a mark. Alright, that's the basis of our bastard sword. Notice that PVC itself is almost as long as our regular sword. And measure out about between 12, 13, or 14 inches, depending on what's comfortable. You're going to want something that gives you enough grip so that, allowing for some space right here, you'll have space for both of your hands to move freely at the same time. Alright, now the first thing we do is we take a piece of scrap like this, cut something out, and make a strip that fits snugly inside the end right here. And you want it to stick out about 3 to 4 inches. Make sure that it is taped. Start with a layer like that, and then do another layer on top of that. This way it gets pretty stiff and it'll help reinforce the tip of your sword, like this right here. It'll help it return to true. And you want another strip right here at the base, because this thing's going to be getting a lot of impact from usage, so you want to reinforce that as much as possible. That'll help keep make it last longer. You'll eventually have to replace this if you use the sword for a long period of time. But anyway, there's where we are at this point. Let's start. Okay. For this next part, we're going to need 2 equal halves, like this. And they could be, at this point, it's not critical that you measure. So long as you start out with more than you will need, so you can cut it down after you put it on there. Test fit it on there, get a good idea of how you'd like it to look, and that looks pretty good. I mean, a nice wide hilt is going to be good for blocking weapons with. Tape. Now, see where I've got the mark here in reference to it? Got to be careful to make sure that I'm leaving enough room for all my hand. Notice that I'm smashing it to the PVC a little bit. Now at this point, it's important to make sure that it's on there really good, so that when you go to twist it, you could use a little bit more on that side. Alright, so there we go. That's a pretty good spot for that hilt. Alright, and then, you know, at every stage of the process when you're working like this, if you're making a weapon, you want to get a feel for it ahead of time and make any changes now before you get too much further. Comparison. Alright. Let's see here. I think this. Okay. Pretty good so far. I want it to be big enough so that it can block incoming blades. And that's actually looking pretty good. And to reinforce it, you want to cover the entire thing, smash it flat. Cover the entire thing with 1 to 2 layers of duct, or 2 to 4 layers of duct tape, or until it's stiff enough that you're comfortable with it.
Rock hard isn't necessarily good though, because these things do contact people.
Yeah. On the tips, you're going to want to leave it a little soft because this is where it's going to smash people's. Now, see, it's pretty weak right there. So now we're going to go with this. That's better. Alright. There we go. That's the hilt so far. For the base, we're going to do some kind of slope like that. Something that covers it. That looks pretty good. Actually, before I get too far here, I'm gonna put a little extra in there, like a little cap on the end. So I should probably tape that on there first. Because this thing's probably going to be stored standing up, and so I'm going to want just that little bit of extra padding so when the PVC, as it sits there, especially over the winter, it'll have something to rest on rather than this outer piece of padding. Test. Ended up being just a little bit too long here in the end. Since this is both a one and two-handed sword, I think maybe I can live with it. Alright, for the rest of the handle, I'm going to cut some long strips. About like so.
Ignore any erroneous dialogue you may hear.
Yeah, we're in a public park, so it kind of, we don't really have a lot of control over our sound quality, so hopefully you can hear me talking.
Or else Matt's going to be doing a lot of dubbing.
Yeah. Alright. So here, I want something for here. I'm trimming to fit my style of hand grip. Basically, I encourage you to see right here. I like having something where my finger has a groove, my top finger has a groove to grab onto, or my thumb. This way, when the sword, when I hit something and I get a pulling motion to like pull it out of the way, I got something to stop it from going. I also like to have a kind of a sloped where my pinky finger goes, because the pinky finger is smaller. There we go. There we go. And that'll also, it'll allow the pinky finger to actually grip better. Alright, that's that. Now working our way onto the blade here, I want a width about a little bit more than my hand. right there. Spikes going across, so they kind of look like smaller versions of the hilt. Or I could do some sort of out motion. And I'm thinking right now, I've changed my mind. I think I want to do this out part. I want to go out and in, then out, then in again for the tip. And so that's what we're going to do. Alright, so measure out.
Just
go
eyeball
past
it.
the tip. Make sure you're out there 2 to 3 inches further than you need to be, or than it needs to be. It's always a good idea to cut off more. Reach in there, finger, find out where the thing is, find out where the tip is. This cut is one of the most important cuts on the blade, so you want to make sure you do it right. Cutting at about a 45-degree angle. There we go. You can see the tip in there. Got the alright. So for this next part, we're going to need 2 halves, roughly the same. Going from about starting here, going all the way down here. Now I'm going to cut this whole thing in half because I'm probably going to end up using this. Cut the tube in half. Or I cut the tube down the line that was already on the tube of insulation. When I flip it over, what I do is I feel with where my fingers are, and then I cut it. Make sure I've got the 2 halves. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping the shadow here going down the side, this dark spot. I'm keeping the same distance from that at the same time while using my fingertip to feel where the line is on the bottom. If you're doing this for the first time, it pays to do it very slowly. And keep double checking to make sure you're on the right track. And I just basically move it through that same space of light so I get the same shadow that I can use as a guide.
This can go off center very easily. I've wasted many a tube of insulation with bad cuts down the middle.
There we go, mostly in half. Alright. This next part's going to be fun. We want to have a couple of short things that stick out here somewhere, so we'll terminate probably about right there. Place the 2 halves together. Alright, now we'll cut a couple of points. Double check to make sure everything's the same length. There we go. That. Alright. Tape the tip closed. Nice little slope there for the other parts to be on. Okay, over. Okay. Now, this next part is kind of interesting. So, now you can do a couple of things. You can cut another couple of short strips. So, an extra piece. Here. Use this as an example. Cut another couple of short strips to go down and meet the blade. Meet the blade at various angles. What you're looking for is the angles that that you're comfortable with, that you think look good for the sword. Or it might look pretty cool just doing something like this, where we have it arcing up from the blade. That actually looks pretty cool. I don't think anybody's done a sword like that quite. Alright. Yeah, let's try that. Okay. So
I thought this was going to be basics.
No, this is not basic stuff. This is stuff that, what we're trying to show you is that it can be a creative process that does not really involve you don't have to plan it out. You don't have to do it exactly the same every time. It doesn't have to look, like something off the website. This is, we want to make something unique. All right, so that kind of fits. So I fashioned some little spacers here. These will help reinforce the blade. They don't have to be in there all that well because it's just something for the padding to sit on top of. Now this whole tip is going to be really comfortable when you hit other people with it, because there's a lot of extra space, there's a lot of air in there. Alright. And it pays to take your time and not hurry. Just use little bits of tape to tape things in place. Okay. Let's see if we can smooth this joint out.
Do you want to smooth it or point it?
Well, we're going to try. See what it looks like in various ways here. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to cut these little points out. Good. Alright, so here's what we'll do. We will squeeze this. Squeeze this. Okay, they're a little on this side it's pretty filled in, reinforced, whatever. On this side it's got a lot more space. And so just to kind of fill it in, I cut some of the, from the tip that I just cut off. Stuff those in there so that it...
Use up your scraps whenever you can.
Yeah, saves you from having to cut up perfectly good stuff. Here I'm doing a test layer of tape to see if it's alright. Yeah, it mostly is. I mean, that'll work for now. Alright, now we're down here. And the idea is that this blade curves down and comes out again like this. So, I'm thinking I'll start with something along. Use that as a measurement. Now, since this is the right length, let's see, we want to kind of feel for it. Get the feel for how far I actually want to go out. It needs to go up to the top of the blade. So that's what we're going to do. Find another piece and I cut one exactly the same size for the other side. Like so. V in there. Alright, now you want to make sure everything lines up with the hilt. Double check to make sure that down the length of the blade you've got this lining up with this, lining up with that, and close enough for government work. Okay, now I'm going to cut some 45-degree angles. Do one side as a test here. That's about the angle I want that. Okay. could actually feasibly be left open. Just pinch it closed all the way down. This will be taped together like so. See, all these decisions, I really didn't think about what I wanted to do ahead of time. I just said, well, let's just make a really cool blade. And, yeah, right there. That's looking pretty good. I'm liking it. Adding little design elements here and there. What you should probably do, though, is do a lot of thinking, do some searches on the internet, find something you like, and do a drawing of it ahead of time.
Or check out your favorite fantasy video game.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around too. There we go. Okay, so there we go. I like the way that feels. Okay. So now is the point where we're just about ready to start finishing off the blade, or finishing off the entire sword, and we want to make sure that we got everything that we want to do. Looking here, design elements, it's like I almost want something coming out here, but I'm not really sure how that, yeah, now I know what I actually want. So what I did here is I went measured across, rough edge, cut it exactly in half. So here I got two pieces that are roughly the same size. Now, notice that it's at a curve. I'm going to try and flatten it out. Curl a piece of tape across like this, flatten the insulation. Now it's flat.
Do that again.
I'll do it for the other one. Curve. Across, see it's flat. I have two pieces that are flat, so I can use them either way. This. Rough them into place. Make sure they're even. That one looks like it got off center a little bit. There we go. Trim it up a little bit so it's pointy. Make sure those things are on there pretty good because they're going to receive a lot of stress when you try and catch weapons with them. Okay, now I got it pretty serious. We measure it up to this blade. Looks like we can catch it in there almost flat. And that is what we want. Want to be able to walk in there and catch your enemy's sword. Keep it from killing you. Alright. Now we look at it again, make sure everything's good. think I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to finish the blade off first, and we're going to do the handle and then the hilt. So first thing, take a long strip of tape. Do the easy part first, go right down the center. This is a lot harder to get a smoother tape job on, simply because there's so many different angles to it, and square tape does not fit onto curved surfaces very well. So what I'm doing is start with one edge, put it down, and run my fingers back and forth to smooth it out. If I get a big wrinkle that I don't like, just lift the tape back up and then smooth it back out. There we go. Put it over, let's do the other side. I ended up with these difficult to tape areas right here. So what we're going to try and do, I think we're going to have to do it in 2 stages.
That's usually what I do.
Going to be concerned about wrinkles for this one, I don't think. Those nice flat broadsword blades, like that one, it's pretty easy to get a nice smooth tape job, or a smoother tape job. But when you put lots of angles in it, you're going to have a lot more patience than I do right now to do it. Alrighty then. Let's get some black. I'll do some sort of fancy design on the blade. So I'll start with the base here. Make the areas I want black first. part that I want black. So I want something on the blade that is kind of a design, so I think I'm just going to go with a point of some sort. So easier to do with a razor. Since I don't have one, I'm just going to have to wing it.
If you take a look in the weapon design gallery, that sword that looks like a hot rod, that was done, the cutting on that tape was done on one of those hard plastic cutting boards with a utility knife.
Looks good from 10 feet.
Or when it's coming at you at high speed.
Alright, I'll just cover the whole rest of the sword in a single layer of black duct tape. So now we've coated most of it in black duct tape, and we just have to finish the hilt here. Yeah, there we go. So, tear off a piece of duct tape, fold down one side, wrap. There you go. You don't have to worry about so much right here, because when you go to put the string on, it will naturally depress that. Fold it over, sticky side out. Side out, make sure there's no gaps. So pull it over. Start the top, kind of mash down a little bit, and you start it out, start pulling, twisting, and you lay each row right next to the first one. Now I like yarn because it kind of widens out and it's easy to cover the gaps, but if you're using something, but the trade-off is that it doesn't have quite as much grip as some of the other materials, like say this
It's a hemp string.
hemp string, yeah. That probably has one of the best grips that you can get. But generally you just do this for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
Alright.
Alright, so once you get to the end of doing that, take your string and give it a little gap right there. And you want to lay your tape so you tape over the last few layers or the last few rows of string. There's going to be a lot of stress and pull. And the string's going to want to pull off of there. Alright, that is basically finished.